Hi, I'm Ryan with Box on the Rocks, and today I'm joined again by Eddie.
I'm right here this time.
Eddie, our mixologist, and we're going to be going through our June kit, but you might notice that we're in a new location today. Eddie, where are we at?
We're at the Stag Tobacconist on the corner of Scottsdale Road and Pinnacle Peak, Scottsdale, Arizona.
And what are we doing here?
Well, part of the box this month is
Cigars.
cigars.
So our June kit is going to be the Bourbon in the Rough kit, featuring the Old Grand Old Fashioned, the Whisk Me Away Sour, and the Unsmashed Amaretto Smash. That's a mouthful.
We had to get out of the bar too.
Got to get out of there sometimes. You got to go out on location.
On location, that's right. All right, new location. So Ryan, show us what's in the box.
Let's go through it. All right, so we've got a BOTR flask. We've got a mini torch. We've got a Coram cigar. We've got a cigar cutter. And we've got 2 bottles of Monin pure cane syrup. We've got another 2 bottles of Monin amaretto syrup. We've got a bottle of Woodster bitters, a can of the Yellow Edition Red Bull, a bottle of real lemon juice, and we've got a jar of Dirty Sue cherries. Okay, so the first cocktail is the Old Grand Old Fashioned. Eddie, what do we got?
Well, I tell you what, I can't think of anything that tastes better with a cigar than an old fashioned. Now, an old fashioned is something that's been around since about the early 1800s. Before the old fashioned, we had something called a sling. And basically what a sling was spirit that was sweetened with sugar. Right around the 1800s, there came a new product in the market called Strawton's Bitters, and it was from England. It was kind of used as a tonic, almost medicinal. Once they added the bitters to the old fashioned or to the sling, it was then referred to as a bittered sling.
So besides the obvious, what makes a bitters?
So bitters, think of bitters as a concentration of flavor. Basically what they do is they take things such as in orange bitters, they take orange peel and they put it in a very high proof alcohol. Alcohol is a wonderful extractor of flavors. When they have that single flavor, they have something called a tincture, which is one flavor. After that, they start putting other things. Cardamom, clove, dried fruits. Really, every recipe that every bitters maker has is proprietary and secret, but they are very unique. Nowadays, you can have multiple bitters behind your bar, so kind of think of bitters as almost a spice rack for bartenders.
And really, they started out sort of as a medicinal item, right?
Absolutely, tonic.
Sort of like Coca-Cola.
Kind of Coca-Cola did. There's a lot of things that started off as medicinal. In fact, liqueurs also started off as medicinal. So there are a lot of medicinal qualities, a lot of things that alcohol harkens back to as pharmaceutical type things. In fact, alcohol comes from the word alchemy.
Okay, I did not know that. And why do we call it an old fashioned?
So an old fashioned. So after a while, this single drink that we know of as spirit, bitters, and sugar was called a cocktail. But after cocktail became a generic term, meaning any kind of alcoholic beverage. Let's have cocktails. I need a cocktail. Give me a cocktail before I shoot somebody. People would have to go to the bartender to designate that particular drink as I need a cocktail made the old-fashioned way. And that's where you get the name old-fashioned.
Got it. Thank you. All right, so the second one is going to be the Whisk Me Away Sour.
Now, okay, so sour, we have a sour, which is basically a drink that has a sour component, which would be lemon, a sweet component, in this case would be amaretto, and an alcohol component, which in this case would be the bourbon.
Excellent. So lastly, we have the Amaretto Smash. What is a smash?
Okay, so a smash cocktail. A smash cocktail is basically a cocktail. It's kind of like a sour. You have a sour component, you have a sour component, you have a sweetener component, and then you have a spirit component. The difference between a smash and a sour is that everything is thrown into the can or your shaker tin. It's shaken, and then everything is poured into the glass. a lot of times what we'll do is we'll strain it off from the old ice and put it in new ice. But in this case, a smash uses everything, and all the stuff goes in it. What's what we call junk in: the mint, the citrus, whatever you get it from, such as lemon wedges, other smashes that we know of that you can relate this to is something like a caipirinha, which is a Brazilian style cocktail, sherry cobbler, and then an old-fashioned whiskey smash.
Excellent. So it's like a mishmash.
It's mishmash, and we use dirty ice, which basically is the ice that was used to shake.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the spirit in that we're recommending for this box. We've got Old Granddad Kentucky Bourbon. Now, I thought all bourbon was from Kentucky.
Well, all bourbon is not Kentucky. The geographic designation for bourbon is it can be made anywhere in the United States. So it can be made in Maine, California, Texas. The only whiskey that has a real specific geographic designation is bourbon's cousin, Tennessee whiskey. So
what makes it bourbon then?
Well, there's a few things that make it bourbon. Number one, what it's made from. 51% corn in the mash bill, and what a mash bill is the mix of grains that are used to make basically what is something like a beer. 51% has to be corn. The other thing is that it has to be aged in new American oak barrels. The distillate, or the thing that we make, the White Dog or the moonshine that happens before it becomes bourbon, can't be distilled higher than 160 proof, and it can't be barreled more than 125 proof, and it can't be bottled less than 80 proof. That's what makes something a bourbon. Now, a straight bourbon has to be aged at least 2 years, and that's bourbon.
Excellent. And I think we're going to make some cocktails now. Pull up a chair, grab your cigar, and learn about the tall tales of bourbon in the rough. Some say the origin of modern bourbon is attributed to two French brothers who moved to Louisville, Kentucky in the 19th century. Others say its roots started in the late 1700s when settlers in Kentucky started distilling whiskey from their corn. That whiskey was then stored in charred oak barrels, hence giving it a very distinctive flavor and color. And by the 1800s, bourbon fans were creating quite the demand and production was booming. Either way, bourbon is a rich and complex spirit with a long and storied history. From its humble beginnings to its current status as a beloved American icon, it has remained a symbol of tradition, quality, and excellence. In celebration of this amazing spirit, we've curated the perfect man kit, featuring 3 delicious recipes, along with accouterments for some front porch sittin and tall tales talkin. The included cigar, cutter, torch, and flask add more fun for creating your cocktailing good times and telling your tall tales. Not only does this bourbon in the rough kit make a delicious old-fashioned with the old grand old-fashioned, it's also equipped to make a classic sour with the Whisk Me Away sour recipe, and our mocktail is a smash-inspired recipe called the Unsmashed Amaretto Smash. So break out the bourbon in your kit contents and have yourself a good old-fashioned kind of time. What's the juice? Old Granddad Bourbon. Basil Hayden Sr., known as Old Granddad to the generations that followed, made bourbon the way he wanted. He went against the traditional grain of the time and chose to distill his bourbon with a higher percentage of rye. This way of crafting bourbon was likely something he handed down to his son, and in turn his grandson. That was Colonel R.B. Hayden, who would justly name his bourbon after his old granddad. The recipe today remains inspired by Basil's original with complex flavors and an unmistakable spiciness. First bottled in 1882, very little has changed about it. Dig this! Fun cocktail factoids. By the end of the 19th century, there were more than 4,000 whiskey and bourbon distilleries in the United States, many of which were in Kentucky. distinctive product of the United States," unquote. During the Civil War, bourbon was used as a form of currency. According to the American Bourbon Association, to be classified as bourbon, a whiskey needs to be distilled from a mixture of grains or mash that's at least 51% corn. Bourbon must be aged in new charred oak barrels and cannot include any additives or colorings. To be designated straight bourbon whiskey, bourbon has to have been aged in new charred oak barrels for a minimum of 2 years. Unsmashed amaretto smash. 1/2 ounce of Monin amaretto syrup, an ounce of real lemon juice, and about 3.5 ounces of Red Bull Yellow Edition. Add all the ingredients except for the Red Bull to a cocktail shaker with ice. Shake vigorously 8 to 10 times until chilled, and then strain into an iced 10-ounce Collins glass. Top with the Red Bull Yellow Edition energy drink, and then garnish with a Dirty Sioux cherry. Your kit comes complete with real lemon juice, Monin pure cane and amaretto syrups, Woodster's orange bitters, Red Bull Yellow Edition energy drink, Dirty Sioux cherries, and Dardaman's lemon wheels. As a bonus, we've also included a cigar, cigar cutter, torch, and a stainless steel flask. Okay, so I'm with Andrew, the owner and proprietor of Stag Tobacconist in Scottsdale. He's gonna show us how to cut, light, and smoke a cigar for anybody out there who needs a little help. I have made him the unsmashed amaretto smash, which is an NA cocktail since he is technically on the job. And I've got myself the old fashioned in the flask here, so I'm gonna just pour that out while Andrew goes through his spiel about the cigars.
Thank you for having me today. The cigar we're talking about today is the Quorum Shade. It's made in Nicaragua. It's made for a company called J.C. Newman. They're one of the oldest family-owned companies in tobacco, period. They've been making manufacturing cigars in the U.S. since 1895 in Tampa, Florida. Wow. This is one that in their factory in Nicaragua that's made from them. It's Connecticut Shade. It smokes very creamy, very smooth, very easy draw, and very friendly to anyone that's maybe not smoked a cigar before. It's been a while.
Okay.
So a couple different options for cutting. We have a punch.
This was included with in the kit.
The V cut, and then lastly the flat slice, which is what we're using in the kit. It's just a flat cut. So you want to hold it. So what you're going to look for is the top. Is you see this little cap line? So you should find yours on your cigar. You want to cut just above it. It's about a dime's thickness, if you think of it that way. So all you're going to do is hold that up. Use yours. Give it a nice clean cut. Make sure the top's good. It should look something like this. Now we take our lighter. We're going to want to lightly toast the end of our cigar. This helps hold the wrapper together. So you see how it's just barely begun to smoke, lightly darkened. Now from here we're going to go a little bit harder. Oh, come on. I checked it 3 times. Let me borrow yours. So here, lighter in the kit. So you're just gonna, now we're gonna get it going.
Okay, so I probably went a little too close on my first one.
Check it, so a little touch up. You just wanna get that end nice and even. The more even it is, the nicer burn you're gonna get.
Okay.
It's not gonna tend to run on you or have those sorts of issues. So the thing I like about cigars is it's sipping. It's almost as if you're tasting wine or tasting whiskey. Yes, you swallow. Here, you're just looking to pull the cigar into your mouth. You're not looking to take a deep lung inhale or anything like that. If you do, your chest is gonna hurt and your cough like a son of a. But the nice thing is you get a lot of flavors. It's kind of like sipping on a cocktail.
Okay.
And with this smooth creaminess, the bitterness is gonna come out a little bit more because it's gonna be countered by the sort of smooth sweetness that that cigar is gonna have.
Cheers.
Salute. So that's the basics. Sit back, enjoy. Cigars are meant to be sipped, almost, is a good way to put it. You want that flavor, you want to let it roll around your mouth before you blow it out. That's what really gives a lot of, where you find all the palate notes. Hits your tongue, top of your mouth, all those sorts of things, same way as, you know, sipping a cocktail.
Excellent.
So yeah, we've been, Stag Tobacco's been around in the Valley since 1964, coming up on almost 50 years next year. My family's personally been in the business 3 generations. My grandfather recently passed away, was started in the business in 1974. So my family's been doing this almost 50 years and coming up on 60 for.
Phoenix looked a little bit different back then.
Just a little bit. So this is something that I've kind of born and raised. I've been doing it full time now for 16 years consistently.
Well, thank you for letting us use your space today and teaching us a little bit about cigars.
Thank you for having me.
Brother, what you got?
Hey, smoking a little cigar, having some old fashions.
Nice.
Pour you one here. Whoops.
Don't short me now.
Sorry about that. There you go.
Old fashioned.
Old fashions. Here's to Father's Day. Happy Father's Day out there. Let us know what you like about this video, any cocktails that you guys want to see. And until then, enjoy your BOTR kit.
Drink outside the box.
Cheers.
Cheers.